What up, y'all? It's TyranitarTube, and today we're going to be talking about the concept of a Mega Dragonite in Pokemon Legends ZA. Now, as you guys know, between the 9 pseudo legendaries, almost all of them have been readdressed in some Pokemon games. The 4 Megas, Gudra's Regional Variant, and Paradox Hydreigon. This just leaves Dragonite, Baxcalibur, Dragapult, and Como is the only ones that need to be readdressed. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Dragonite being readdressed. And Dragonite kind of feels like one of the first ones they would give a Mega to in this second season of Megas. Because if you look at the first 4 Megas we got for Pseudos, it's within those first generations. It's literally the first 4 gens of Pokemon that they squeezed the 4 Pseudos out of. Dragonite is just that prequel gen that they never touched. Now, I did make a weird video the other day about them doing Dragonite's family lines Mega a bit differently, more focused on Dragonir, but we're gonna take that idea out for this video and actually focus on Dragonite. So, if you look at the 4 Mega Pseudos that exist right now, all of their Megas are direct improvements entirely of the existing form. It's funny he said this. I mean, all Megas are just improvements of the existing form, but he means that none of them go outside of the box. They're just simple buffed versions. Mega T-Tar is a direct improvement. Its back splits open. It gets that red color that Larvitar used to have. And original T-Tars are told to have colossal strength, knocking over mountains. Mega T-Tar just has even more colossal strength and destructive instincts. Then we get to Salamence. Salamence, we can already see this is a direct improvement where it reverts back to how it survived as a roaring moon. Mega Metagross is a direct example of this improvement I'm talking about, where a Beldum, 2 of them make a Metang, 2 Metangs fuse together to make a Metagross. Mega Metagross is essentially a Metagross fusing with another Metagross, but a bit differently, because a Mega Metagross is when a Metagross somehow gets another Metang and 2 Beldums, which are the components of a Metagross anyway, so it just chooses to use them differently across its body. But a Mega Metagross is literally 2 Metagross put together. And then same for Garchomp, right? It just gets slower, savage, but it's a direct improvement. You can see it on their designs. It's a forward, simple direction that they took with all the Megas. And so that's the first idea I would lean towards, which is that Dragonite, it'd be less like Mega Heracross and Mega Ampharos and just be a simple direct improvement on what Dragonite already looks like. Now for the funnest part about all this. Dragonite's typing. There are various ideas in my mind for how they can make Mega Dragonite go down. The first idea is it stays dragon flying, of course, right? Remember, the direct improvement path. And for this example, I want to focus on one entry that's written for Dragonite, which is that it can circle the globe in 16 hours. Currently, these are Dragonite stats. You can see it has low speed. So in a Mega Evolution like this, I would say it would retain that dragon flying typing. Its speed would go up a lot, and then it would get some kind of ability that has a flying theme to it. Whether that's Aerialate, which is what Pinsir has, turns normal moves into flying types, or Gale Wings. And this is really just to improve that speed factor. It is weird that they made Dragonite such a slow Pokemon stat-wise, but then this interesting entry where it can circle the globe that fast. The circumference of the Earth is 40,000 kilometers. You'd have to fly way off the direct surface of the Earth to go around the globe. So let's say that's 60,000 kilometers or 80,000 kilometers. You'd think 16 hours is a long time, but for the 60,000 example, that means it's traveling 3,750 kilometers an hour for 16 hours straight. And for the 80,000 kilometer example, it's traveling 5,000 kilometers an hour. So, don't freaking tell me this thing can't get that Talonflame ability. It's so weird they gave it 80 speed. I mean, you see it in the anime and all, they made it this messenger Pokemon delivering stuff. It's because it's so fast. They just didn't demonstrate in that speed. So that would be the main example I would give. And let me see if I can pull up some cool fan art for this. I was also thinking of giving it a mini version of Delta Stream. Like it can, for the first time, we get a flying weather condition that isn't a big one. So right now we have drizzle and drought, right? If they made one that, unlike Airlock, actually does something, a smaller version of Delta Stream. Maybe something like you turn Delta Stream dumbed down into a Tailwind. So when Dragonite is sent out, it automatically whips up a Tailwind, which would be such a cool alternative to like T-Tar whipping up that Sandstorm, right? So this way, you could actually explain how Dragonite is going that fast. So even if it keeps 80 speed, or you bump that speed up to just 100, with Tailwind, it would always have double that speed. and it can explain just how it's circling the globe that fast. It's kind of like creating its own draft. That's an even better idea. F the Gale Wings. Give it an ability where it summons a Tailwind that only lasts like 3 turns. Or if you really want to dumb it down, it only lasts like 2 turns. This will make it less broken so you could use it competitively. This is a pretty freaky ability to give up because the last time we had something like this was Mawile with huge power. But Mawile had such ass stats that it warranted doubling its whole attack stat. If you got to double Dragonite's speed and then you still had 100 BST to give, yeah, this thing would be broken. Unless you wasted a lot of it in its special attack. So, 20, 40, 20, 20. And that'd be the 100 BST there. It'd make it a mixed attacker. Let me see if I can find some fan art for this. So this is a really cool one. And as you can see, what they did is they made Dragonir a lot more slender. Its wings are aerodynamic in a different way. It's got that horn that's bigger now. And it gets like this little armor in the front of its chest. But what's cool about this is it's slender compared to Dragonite, who's big and chunky, right? That's why it has multi-scale. And what it creates is this cool appearance where it looks a lot more serpent-like, like Dragonir. So it's like it's reverting into a more ideal form. This actually looks more like what Dragonite is supposed to look like. So let's just pretend there's a Paradox Dragonite. In the past, it's like they would have looked like this, but that they evolved to be more chunky. And so what this Mega Evolution really does is make them back to that slender, wind-cutting appearance. This is so cool. So this is perfect for that flying dragon typing I was mentioning, and this one fits the Tailwind idea perfectly. So now let's quickly talk about some alternative approaches for Dragonite. The idea that the 4 pseudo megas are direct improvements is true, but it's just an interesting pattern. It doesn't have to be, of course, how they deal with Dragonite, especially since this is season 2 of megas. They could do whatever they want. So let's talk about alternate paths, which is very possible. The first typing you can get out of an alternate path is Dragonite going from dragon flying to pure dragon. And this, of course, is also adding on the idea of reverting it back into what I was trying to do as a Dragonir. So here's fan art for this from my boy Barbie E4, which has an interesting approach to making it back to pure dragon. This is so cool right here. So pretty much what he's done is made it so when Dragonite Mega Evolves, that outer dragon scale skin shell rips off and is like a cloak that the Mega Dragonite has now. And so you could see the normal Dragonite is under there, the same scales, that blue color from Dragonir. And if you look at its tail, part of Dragonite's tail, it hasn't ripped off yet, so it's still there. The horn on its head gets bigger and it gets Dragonir's orb back. This is such an unusual approach for a Dragonite, but once you see it animated in game, it sounds pretty cool for Game Freak to do. This also goes more in line with the evil nature described for Mega Evolution in some games, where clearly Dragonite does not want this happening to it. It's completely discarded its flying typing, and if you look, it's actually lost the wings that normal Dragonite has. It's completely gone, and the cloak has just taken the spot. What's a very cool added detail, like you see those 2 incisions on its cape cloak? That's where its legs were. Man can dress himself back up if we wanted. It'd be hilarious if Game Freak did something like this. And then there's the final approach I want to tell y'all about, which has to do with the nature of Dragonite. I did just describe that Mega Evolution, it kind of corrupts certain Pokemon, but you see, doesn't have to be the case all the time, especially since that only started really with Ultra Sun and Moon. You see, with Dragonite, something, if you read its Pokedex entries that you learn, is it's a very gentle giant Pokemon. It is very protective, it helps people if it sees them drowning and all. It's not a bad Pokemon in the slightest, which is so unusual because it's a pseudo-legendary, which means it had to have been savage at one point to fend for itself in the wild. But over time, as it turned into this chunky boy, it became so gentle. Let me show you some entries. This is from Pokemon Gold in 1999. It is said that this Pokemon constantly flies over the immense seas and rescues drowning people. Why Dragonite? Ruby and Sapphire. It is a kind-hearted Pokemon that leads lost and foundering ships in a storm to the safety of land. None of this Dragonite stabs its claws into prey to devour them entries at all. only kindness is spoken about for Dragonite. Here's an entry from Pokemon Sun. This Pokemon saved a shipwrecked man, taking him to a remote island, a paradise occupied solely by Dragonite. Dragonites, they have this island that's spoken of in older entries, that it's rumored that they all live. This Dragonite saved a man and brought them to its homeland, which should be a sacred place. Dragonite doesn't care. It is a gentle, beautiful Pokemon. And so, while it is true that Mega Evolution is supposed to make this gentle man turn mad, what if you got the opposite to happen, where you get to really see more of Dragonite's gentle side come out more? So this is a very unlikely idea, but it's the idea of Dragonite when it Mega Evolves going from Dragon Flying to the typing that only one other Pokemon has, Dragon Fairy. Now this is weird. It's weird to associate a Gen 1 Pokemon especially with that Fairy typing. And Fairy of course doesn't just mean gentle, but Fairy typing, and I talked about this in previous videos, along with the dragon typing, they're like mythical typings. And you know, with the fairies we got in the game, like Carbink, it's of mythical creatures. And so, you can bring Dragonite's mythical tales full circle. It'd be so cool to take our loving, gentle boy and actually make it even more loving in this entry. It would be more savage, but it would be so cool if the entries still describe it as a kind Pokemon. Whoa. This is a very mythical approach to Dragonite. It's a bit over the top. You gotta imagine some features rounded down to fit Game Freak style, but it's this right here, where Dragonite's horn gets bigger. You see those eyebrows, it's reminiscent of Dragonir, and then it's brought back the features of those orbs that Dragonir has. The coolest thing that this does though is takes that slender approach I said to the next level from the previous art, where it's fully in the shape of Dragonir. It's not just slender, it's a whole serpent again. This is the coolest way visually to do Mega Dragonite, I think, where you keep its claws and its hands and all, but when it's flying, it would be like a Chinese dragon in the sky. It would be the same kind of serpent that you'd see swimming as a baby in like the Safari Zone and all, the Dragonirs. Bringing out all those Dragonir features and merging it with Dragonite creates such a cool appearance. And this being Dragon Fairy, and the entry saying it's this mythical creature that few have lived to talk about and witness, would be so cool. There's one last type combination I forgot I wanted to mention, which is, you see Dragonite has this unusual affinity for being in the water, right? It's born in the water as a Dratini Dragonir, and then for it to be saving these drowning humans and shipwrecks and all, it makes sense it's flying near the water. There's something drawing it to the water. So taking it full circle and actually Mega Evolving it into a Dragon Water type, where it doesn't just fly over the water, and Dragonites already can go into the water, but it can spend a long time back in the water as a now Dragon Water type, is another fun approach. And the water typing is also very soft, so this also can help with that gentle giant image if they wanted to create a Mega that didn't make it look corrupted like the other ones. Since Dragonir had to wait this long before getting a Mega, and he still might not even get a Mega, give him something crazy like this. It would be so cool. Shank that like button, let me know your thoughts. How would you want a Mega Dragonite to go down? Or do you think Dragonite won't get one in these games? I'll see you on the next one. Take care.